Four conferences in action tonight. LSUA escapes at home. We have also Charles Belt, Oklahoma State University. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Hey, how's everybody doing? It's a beautiful Wednesday. On Tuesday night, the game of the night, LSUA, they face Texas A&M Texarkana. Really a back and forth game there at the fort. Alexandria was at home, but Alexandria, in the end, they took charge the last, 2 minutes. They were able to put Texas A&M Texarkana away, cashing that 26 points, 5 rebounds. 16 points, 2 rebounds for Jake Ackman. So LSUA, they go to 15-1, and they're going to face Jarvis Christian on Saturday. This is the other action in the Red River Conference last night. You can see we have this LSUA game starred because this was a big chance for Texas A&M Texarkana. They were 9-3 coming into this game. They had a chance to go to 10-3. A chance to move up to third place, really a costly loss for them. LSU Alexandria is still a game up, but Xavier is at 1 loss with them. So as long as they continue with the at 1 loss each, Xavier has their fate in their hands, I would say. And then these two teams are a couple games back. So with that in mind, Xavier is going to be. This is Thursday. Xavier is going to be at Texas A&M San Antonio, and then Our Lady of the Lake is going to host Louisiana Christian, and it's going to be really critical for these teams that are chasing right now Alexandria. Let's go on to the American Midwest. Central Baptist was in action last night. They hosted Crowley's Ridge. They thumped them pretty good, 92-64. Wade Williams, 18 points, 6 rebounds. Excuse me. Brian Alexander, the sophomore, 19 points, 4 rebounds. Great game for him. So they go to 12-3, and they're going to be at Williams Baptist on Thursday. Taking a look at the rest of that conference, there was just really one other game. I have it starred here. Mission beat Williams Baptist. Why do I have that starred? Well, Mission, they're 1-4 now. That was their first AMC win. They're a new NAIA team. They had obviously won other games this season, but that was their first conference win. So just wanted to give them a shout out for that. If you look at the conference standings, Central Baptist still has control by a game. Columbia and Missouri Baptist, kind of a bit of a surprise. They're 3-1. They're pushing big disparity in games in hand here. But I'm sure that'll even out. So with that in mind, we need to keep an eye. Thursday, Central Baptist is going to be at Williams Baptist. The question there is, can Central Baptist keep on winning? And then Missouri Baptist is going to go to Crowley's Ridge, see if Missouri Baptist can keep things going. Those will be on Thursday. Watch those games. We talked to Charles Belt, and the morning after they defeated Wayland Baptist. Big win for the program. Oklahoma Panhandle is a program that's in recovery. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but the best way to say it. They won 4 games last year. Last night, or Monday was their fifth win of this season. Coach Belt obviously has done this before over at William Woods, and he's in the middle of rebuilding that program. So we wanted to talk to him after that big win over Wayland Baptist. So I'll just shut up and let's listen to Coach Belt. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Charles Belt III. He's the head men's basketball coach, Oklahoma Panhandle University. Thanks, Coach, for being on.
Billy, appreciate all you do for us, and I'm glad to get a chance to talk about our program with you.
Well, as we record this, it's the the morning after you beat Wayland Baptist there at home. Big win against Wayland Baptist. Before we talk about how you got there, just talk about that game last night. Boy, you hung on by the skin of your teeth, didn't you?
Yeah, it's funny. We've had 8 one-possession ball games. That one being the ninth, and we've dropped 8 of the ones previous. And so, as a coach, you become a little numb if it happens so often, right? I remember when I first started coaching and first became a head coach, those nail biters have you on the edge of your seat, and your adrenaline's rushing, and you're trying to make all these decisions that can affect the game. And we've just been a team that's been in so many of those that there was a calm for myself and for our players of like, we've been here, we've done this, we've seen this movie, and let's hope that on this occasion the outcome's going to be.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, a lot of people might say, "Oh well, big win last night. They're 5-11, though. They must not be very good." But you go back through your season, you just mentioned it. You lost to John Brown by 5. You lost to Science and Arts by 1. You lost to Texas Wesleyan by 3. I mean, you barely lost to Langston earlier in the year. Lost to Oklahoma City by 3. You lost to Wayland at Wayland by 1. I mean, you've been nipping at everybody's heels. So, Coach, talk about kind of the build to this, right? Because that when teams start to turn around, the first thing you see is the fans are saying, well, we almost got so-and-so. We almost got so-and-so. When they start that, you know that, okay, this team is starting to turn around. And then the next step is the team learns how to win those. So where do you think your team is right now?
Absolutely. That's a great point. I've always talked about, and I've rebuilt programs as an assistant and as a head coach. That's kind of my MO, if you want to say, right? And I always write it on the board in the beginning as a 4-year process. Year 1, you lose big. Year 2, you lose small. Year 3, you win small. Year 4, you win big. And if you're fortunate, sometimes in year 2, lose small doesn't mean it's the entire year. You can flip that mid-season. And so the hardest part was really getting our players, and they're young men. I mean, they're 18 to 22, 23 years old, to keep getting up off the mat, right? Like you can only do, as a coach, it weighs on us one way, but we've been through this where I've been coaching 15 years now. As a player, you put so much work in, and to feel like, you're losing it on the last possession. And what's funny, you mentioned, some of those ones that are even 3 or 4, we have the lead in the last 30 seconds. I mean, Langston, we're up 1 with 9 seconds to go. And Bryce Monroe, who's a heck of a player in our league, he hits a fadeaway to the baseline to put him up 1. We try to rush and score quickly. We don't. We have to foul. It ends up being 3. We've always been there, and I've just admired my young men. I mean, I've genuinely admired their resilience, their will, their determination, and their togetherness. And I think when you have a group like that, they rejuvenate me to keep going. We're right there, guys. Like, we are literally right there. And after the win last night, we had a moment as a team where I let them know, I've been doing it long enough to know, I said, watch the narrative change. I said, because everyone on the external and even sometimes internally, you look at conferences, you look at standings, and you said it right away, Billy, right? Your assumption when you see the team at the bottom is that team's not any good. Now, once you get a win like we got, it gives people a reason to actually click and go, wait a second, that win's not as shocking as you might believe if you look at where this team's been up to this point. And now that we've changed the narrative, can we continue to believe in ourselves that, you know what, we're just as good as everybody in this league?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I mean, as a fan, I've watched this several times through, because over 50 something years, you see these ups and downs and the swings. But the way and I'm curious what your take is, to me, there's a point where the guys learn how to win, because finishing games is a whole different skill. You can see where a senior team playing a younger team, they're just that will to win at the end takes over. Talk about that.
Absolutely. What I think happens is the teams that win a lot of those close games late, they not just embrace and understand, but they rejoice in their identity as a team. And quite frankly, their identity is what wins those games. They don't panic. They don't, excuse me, get away from what they do. And earlier in the year, it's funny because our program's not one that a lot of people know a lot about, and it's not a program over the last 40 years of success. But what happens is we're a defensive team. I've always been a defensive coach. I always believe that defense can travel. Defense has a little less variables in it than offense. Offensive teams sometimes go on more volatile swings. And in the beginning of the year, we as a team didn't embrace the identity of we're going to win with our defense. And so even as we had some leads late, we rushed shots. We didn't control time. And we gave teams too many possessions to then make a couple of those hero plays late. In the last couple of games, even our Saturday game when we got a lead on Ozarks, we've bought into let's fuel our defense. Let's play to our identity. And I thought that was the most impressive last night in comparison to when we had the same scenario at Wayland. We're up 2 on Wayland going into the last possession. And Quentin Coleman, who's player of the year in our conference, he's phenomenal. I mean, God bless. That kid can play. He gets an and one is how we lose by 1 at their place. And we just gave him too many possessions late. And so you're correct. I think that what happens is the team truly buys into and embraces their identity, and their identity shows up in those clutch moments. And we're going to be tough as nails. We're going to be physical. We're going to defend, and we like to annoy you. That's what we enjoy to do. And I thought we did a really good job down the stretch of that game, of our toughness showing up and our defense consistently getting us stops. And then our offense just being patient and fueling our defense by not giving them the ball too frequently.
So you talked about your defense. You and I talked about this just for a moment before we started, but you are definitely winning games by defense. You're having trouble shooting the ball, especially the 3, but you're countering that by keeping teams from scoring themselves. I think that's like I told you before, I think if I had any position, that's a position I'd want to be in, is that my defense was holding up, but was having trouble scoring. Is it easier to fix the offensive side than the defensive?
I think so. I think what happens is offense typically, if you really look at any basketball team, even high major from Division I standpoint, there's really only 1 or 2 guys on any team that kind of have that green light, blue light, right, where they get to take a quantity of shots, they're volume based. And then quite frankly, the other guys are doing a job. They're in a role from an offensive standpoint. What I think you see in that volatility in offense more so comes from the role players. We have, I'm sorry, we have Amari Brown, who's 6th in the conference in scoring as just a sophomore. And we know that he consistently is going to bring offense. He's got great percentages. The biggest question for us night in and night out on the offensive side is who else is going to be able to bring some consistency. And I think that's what you see on offenses, even the teams that score big numbers. Like when you look at teams that score big numbers, it's usually 3-4 guys that are consistently in double figures. So to your point, yes, I think that you have a better opportunity to get those guys to find some confidence, especially if they live in the gym, and to get those guys to believe in themselves. And you have to do a great job of your guy that does get to take the volume shots, instilling confidence in his teammates too. I trust you. I'm going to make the right basketball play. I believe you can make that shot. I believe you can make that play for us. And if you get that, I do believe it begins to come along late. Defense is tough to fix because I personally think defense is a skill, but it's a skill that's really hard to coach. You can't coach lateral quickness, right? You can't coach shot blocking. And this is just funny. As of right now, we have the leading shot blocker in the conference. Abdul Diaby led the Sooner last year in block shots. And before that, people that follow me at William Woods, I had Darius Yo. He led the conference in block shots all 4 years. I've had the conference leading shot blockers every year I've been a head coach. And people are like, Coach, how are you teaching shot blocking? You're 5'6". And I go, you don't teach shot blocking, right? It's a skill, right? It's a skill. And so I believe that the reason you see it being hard to fix defenses is because of it being a skill. You recruit it. You recruit players that are very skilled at shooting. You recruit players that are very skilled at defense. And the game is still a game of points, and I understand it. So the majority of coaches and evaluators lean towards the offensive side in recruiting and just we'll figure the defense out. If you go through my entire career, have always been the opposite of that. I know I might be in the minority. I recruit defenders, and then I try to figure out the offensive side.
Okay.
And so that's kind of been my approach in all the teams that I've built.
You know, another thing I wanted to ask you about with your lineup. Well, first, how big is Bryce Langford? He is huge.
He's about 6'11", 305, 310 pounds. He's a big boy.
Yeah. Anyway, he's big. You know, when I look at your lineup, you know, I'm a stats guy. I go through the coaches page and all. You play about 10 guys, 13 minutes or more. But you kind of switch up the starting lineup a little bit, or quite a bit.
Yep.
What's your strategy there?
For me, I tell our guys that I like them to believe and to know that I trust that we have way more than 5 quote unquote starters on this team. And, you know, I always take a second when I talk about this to give kudos to our administration, our president, our athletic director, in really investing in us making this transition and wanting our basketball program to move away from what it has been. Mm-hmm. And so, you know this, you've been around, it still takes an investment to go out and get good players. Yep. And so I believe wholeheartedly, it's not a gimmick or anything like that. I believe I have 10 starters, 11 starters on my team. Mm-hmm. I'm very confident and comfortable with any of them being in the starting lineup because ultimately I trust that we have multiple defenders. And I think it goes back to my initial point. If we can continue to hold teams defensively the way that we do, quite frankly, you're just playing the puzzle on the opponent, right? You're just looking, it's a chess match. Okay, what lineup or what group fits this opponent's offensive tendencies? You know, where are we going to have an advantage or create an advantage with our defense? And then putting the person in that fits that. I think it also allows our guys to stay fully engaged. There's never a day that we don't compete at practice. I'm a Bulls fan growing up. I'm from Chicago, right? I mean, one of the best things that Derrick Rose and all those guys talk about with Tom Thibodeau is every day they win at each other. I think when you look at us and we play so many guys and you have so many starters, we're practicing and competing to start. And so if you can watch our practice film, man, there are some days really where I got to jump in there and go, okay, whoa, guys. You know, we're all still playing for the Aggies here, right? But if you can do that every day and you can continue to, and praise God, knock on wood, stay healthy, I'm very confident in the young men we put on the floor, and I think that we're starting to figure it out.
So, Coach, you know, you come off this big win. You're just smack dab in the middle of the conference play right now. You've got, I know coaches can't look ahead, but you've got a pretty rough stretch on the road coming up. What? Yeah. Oh, you did look ahead.
You always do.
Yeah. So what do the Aggies need to do over the next? The good thing is you got a little bit of time between the games. What do the Aggies need to do to get on a roll here? You've won 2 in a row. You're heading to Oklahoma City on Thursday. What do you need to do to continue to improve?
Well, I think and I know we might talk about the conference a little bit. I think the first thing is, you know, there are some leagues, and I've been doing this long enough where you look at the schedule and you kind of can, you know, predict, hey, this is a window where we can get a little momentum. The The Sooners not like that at all,
Right.
right? It's the complete opposite. You look and you go, we just beat Wayland at home, and now you turn around and play MacU, who I think is 17-0 at home over the last X amount of games. I mean,
Yep.
they don't lose at home. They've made the national tournament multiple years. There is no, hey, this is going to turn into a run for us. It's got to be every single day we go in and we approach it as, how do we prepare for who's in front of us next? And MacU presents its own challenges.
Yeah.
Not just at home, but in general with the way that they're coached, the way that they play. They have great size, and they've got veterans. They've got older players that have been around and that are experienced. And so I think the answer to how do we really keep the momentum and try to build on it is to daily deposits of buying into the identity, daily deposits of embracing who we are. I joke with our guys, and I know a lot of times people don't like hearing, we're kind of the villain in a way. And what I mean by that is this, not in a negative light. We kind of hurt the Sooner a little bit. And what I mean is when you look at it, most of the time when the top teams play the bottom team, the margin of victory is large.
Right.
There's a very clear separation. I think our league is hard to rank and evaluate because you look and you go, wait a second. Wayland, Langston, John Brown, you just go through the list of those top teams are in 1-point, 3-point games with a team that won 2 games,
Right.
A team that won 4 games last year. Like, though, it makes you think the top's not as good as the top really is because the bottom is actually way better than you probably assume.
Right.
And so we embrace that. Let's keep making it hard for people to really evaluate the Sooner by going out and playing great basketball and being together and ELE. Everybody love everybody when we go out there and we take the floor. And so if we can stay bought into that and those daily deposits, we look at those first 11 conference games, and now we're getting ready to play everybody the second time, and we go, there's not a team on the schedule we don't think we can compete with or win against.
Good point. You talked about the Sooner a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about that. I follow the conference races really closely. Coming
Yep.
into this season, it looked like, okay, Langston might run away with it again. And there's, oh, no, hold it. John Brown's on a run. Oh, no, hold it. Wayland's on a run. And now Texas Wesleyan is inching up and Nelson is
Yep.
inching up. And it's a wild race. Just talk about the Sooner in that race.
I mean, I think the first point is on any given night, anybody, and some, people say this, but I think we all in our conference genuinely mean it. On any night, anyone in our league can get a win. There isn't a game where you just go, this one's in the books. And so it makes those races tough because I think when I look at it as someone that's not in that top race, I could only imagine that when their game ends, how quickly they pull up the Sooner schedule and try to see what the scores are of those other teams. It's really good coaches, number one. And I also think that the depth of players in our conference is unique. When you look at our league in comparison, in my opinion, to other leagues, it's multiple guys on teams that are very good. It's not just a top-heavy league where you go, man, this league has these 4 or 5 players, and that's their best players in the conference. Every team has a guy, and every team usually has a Robin to go with that guy, with their Batman. And then the last part about the Sooner is we're a conference of size. That's what I had to learn my first year here, right? And that's part of learning the league. You don't just learn your team, you got to learn your opponents.
Absolutely.
And so as I was studying, this is a conference of size. Quentin Coleman, that's why he's so special. I mean, he's a smaller, not just height, but stature guy. The rest of the guys in this league have size. There's length, there's athleticism.
Yep.
And so if you're not able to match that, and that's what we did this year. If you, like you said, Billy, you look at our roster, it is long. We have athletes, we have size. Our point guard's 6'8". We start a 6'8" point guard, Jerry Abushnab. And so I looked at the league after, you reevaluate yourself, and I had to change how I recruited because I'm like, we're not built for Sooner basketball. And so I think that's what fans and people, if they watch Sooner games, see. Texas Dallas beats Division I Rice over that Christmas break,
Right.
69-68. Right? When you looked at that and I watched them, you didn't see that huge size discrepancy that you often see between the Division Ones and the non-Division I opponents. And I think that's the biggest thing about our league, besides the good coaching, is this is a league of size and length and athleticism. And so, yeah, man, it is going to come down to the last week. Of course, now that we have gotten our split with Wayland, I told Clint last night, I'm a Wayland fan. I need him to beat everybody. It helps us get back in the race.
Yep.
Right? I mean, and they're our travel partner. So if we can win some games and they keep it rolling, we have an opportunity on these teams that we're trying to catch to give them 2 losses every week because Wayland's our travel partner.
Oh,
and
see,
so
yeah.
I'm a math major, if you didn't know. I've done the statistics on how we can make the conference tournament. Mathematically, we need Wayland to run away with it right now. And so I'm a huge Wayland fan.
I got you.
But it's gonna be a heck of a race at the top. And honestly, I'm just hoping for us to do the OPSU's only made the conference tournament one time in the last 40 years.
Wow.
I'm just hoping to get in the race somewhere and continue to change the narrative of what it means to be OPSU basketball.
Well, Coach, last night was a great start. It's a huge win, something to build on. And I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us about it and talk to us about Sooner basketball.
I appreciate you. And again, I'm always grateful for these opportunities, but you do just a stellar job. I love following you on social media and listening to all of your stuff on the YouTube channel. And it's just a blessing for me to be able to get a chance to talk to you. I'm glad that, our guys delivered a win, which created a window for me to have an opportunity to have a conversation with you. So I'm very grateful.
Oh, that's very kind. I appreciate that. Well, we got to get you back on a little bit later. I want to go a little bit more deeper. We run out of time on these. You know how it goes, but I think we need to talk more about some Oklahoma Panhandle basketball as the season gets going. How's that? You keep winning, we'll get you back on.
That's it. That's what that's the goal right there, is that we give you and anyone that follows our sport a reason to want to talk about us. And in order to do that, we've got to do our job. So I'm excited to keep working at it.
Well, thank you very much, Coach. That's Charles Belt III. He's the head men's basketball coach, Oklahoma Panhandle State University. Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it, Billy. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot to Charles Belt and also to Oklahoma Panhandle University. That was a big win for them. Let's keep an eye on them and see how things shape up there in the Sooner. I thought that was a really interesting point he made about the Sooner being of size. You're seeing that more and more, but across a bunch of conferences. But I thought that was an interesting comment. Okay, we have a couple more conferences to look at in action tonight. Also, the AAC, the Appalachian, they were in play. No surprises. Everybody who you would expect to win one. Here's the standing: CIU and Bryan. Pikeville's 1 game back, and Reinhardt is whatever number that is, but they've only got 2 losses. So with that in mind, that Pikeville and Reinhardt are chasing, Pikeville tonight will play Bluefield. Pikeville is at home. Keep an eye on that one. That's a big game for Pikeville. And then Reinhardt will go to Truett McConnell on Thursday. See if they can tighten up that AAC race just a bit. Also, the HBCU Athletic in play tonight. Again, 3 of the top 4 teams were in action, and they all won. So let's look over here. So Stillman was the only team not in action. So Tougaloo and Stillman right now are tied at 8-1, and then 1 game back is Dillard, and Suno Philander Smith is another game and a half back. So Stillman will be in action on Thursday. That is the most critical game for the standings. Keep an eye on that. They're going to play Wilberforce. Well, you're all caught up, and big day tomorrow. Wednesday's always a big day. So just enjoy your NAIA action tonight. Take good care of your family. And that's all I have for today. I appreciate one more time Charles Belt. Thank you. And this is Billy D, and I'm done. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school, because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.